Hi. Hi. How are
Hi,
you?
how you doing? I'm fine. Good morning. Well, good evening.
Yeah, good evening and good morning to you. So, viewers, today we have Brandy Truly. So, she's the author of the book Scorn of Secrets. And yes, the book which she has written now and it's available on Kindle, The Scorn of Secrets. So, these two books are totally amazing, written by her. And let us have a quick intro of her from her end. So please give us a quick intro of yours.
So I'm Brandy Truly. I go by B Truly. I've written several books, but Scorn of Secrets is actually has the most sentimental value to me. That was actually the first book I wrote. I started when I was 15 years old, and I have it like handwritten. I brought it here to kind of show you. This is with the ashes that it came from here. This is like the handwritten copy of 350 pages. They're torn, they're yellow. So I wrote it, but my inspirations for like writing was like Stephen King and V.C. Andrews. So I learned early on that back in the day it was just like being traditionally published. So I felt I could be an author at some point when it was meant to be, but I knew it was like a needle in a haystack, so that I might need to like get a career choice and then kind of launch into that, like football player or basketball player. That would be great if you can achieve that dream, but it might not just happen when you want it. So you might just have to have something to fall back on. So I've always been interested into medicine. So I went ahead and did that. And then when I found out about being self-published, I felt that it was a time that I could um, try to become an author at that point. So I had another story I was working on at the point, so I put that one out first, but then I pulled out Scorn of Secrets in 2015, and I had to rewrite it over. Like I was skimming through it, and I was like, oh, like I was cringing because I handwrote it at 15, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have to rewrite this whole thing. So I started rewriting it, and then I actually I kept the bones of the story, but I actually changed a lot of it. So it took me some time. I kept I had the same characters and stuff, but I changed like the main climax point. So it took me a while to like rewrite it. And I wanted to take my time since it's actually the first one. And finally, at the beginning of this year, I was like ready to go forward with it. There was no rush on it because it's the one that was the most important to me.
Oh, wow. That's really a great journey. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I was going through your intro, your bio and all. I read, yes, that you started writing at a very early age of 13 years. Like you said, it's very, like authors are very glad when they get what they want as a career and they are the happiest. And writing books and turning on pages into rough notes and so many yellow, black, red and blue, like you have shown, it takes a lot of time for an
Mm-hmm.
author to make a book and then the same it in the hands of the readers. So yes, Crown of Secrets has
Yes.
played a very well and vital role in the reader's life because it is like viewers, I would like to tell you, it is a very nice book which is not just what is inside, it is from outside. Like what we say, what humans are from inside, they are from outside. The same is the book which I have read and I felt it is very nice. So, like Brandy, if I ask you one thing before we go to your books and the writings which you have written, which was your first writing on a paper at the age of 13? Do you still remember?
Well, that was actually 15, but I've never showed anyone these before, but I was going through some old boxes because I'm not a hoarder or nothing, but I keep some things that are like valuable. And I found these like a year or so ago, and I was like, well, I thought I wanted to be a writer at 15. That's my actual book that I wrote and finished, but I guess I was interested in writing beforehand. So here's one book. This is a coloring book, a Barbie coloring book. It is 1985.
Oh, wow.
So I was about 6 years old. Okay. So the book has a story. in it. I guess books nowadays, the coloring books too. So like this right here, it says Barbie will be maid of honor. The story is just kind of simple, one line. But I see that I've hand wrote in, I went through this book and I wrote a whole story to add into it. And I put like, well, what does it say? It says Barbie will be maid of honor. I just knew that I would be maid of honor. So I added in my own story because I thought it was just like, I was like, what needs more detail? So in my writing is actually, I don't write that well, but it's my same handwriting. So I just thought it was funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remembered it when I pulled it out, but just, you can see my little ugly scribbling, but I wrote a whole story throughout the coloring book, and then this other one here, the same thing. So I just thought this, I'm gonna keep this in, as you see, like how I just wrote in it. So I didn't even really remember that till I pulled them out, but I guess it's just I've always have liked to write. It's been my favorite thing in school was writing. So the grammar and punctuation, all that like that, you got to be an editor for that, and that take work. But to actual get the story, that's what's the fun part. All of the other stuff can come later, but to actually create the stories has always been fun to
Wow,
me.
that's really interesting. At the age of 15, you started describing the pictures, the coloring pictures, and the single sentences. You just started describing it into paras. So yes, the starting of the journey of an author started from the age of 15 itself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, how much time did it took to you to complete the Scorn of Secrets book?
Well, I guess the total journey was 27 years. So I wrote it when I was 15. I was in high school. So I wrote it and then I put it to side and I said, okay, let me get my finish college and get my degree and get into my field. And then I will dive into when the time is right, how, because I mean, you had to submit at the time. There was no self-published. I never knew it existed. So, and I had heard Stephen King, even with, I don't know if you noticed with Carrie, he submitted it 30 different times. And he got 30 different no's for Carrie. And he was so mad, he threw it in a trash can. And his wife is the one that got it out. So whoever signed on him, like, I'm sure that was a great investment, but I just knew that, not that I couldn't do it, but I wanted to like know that I could have, a good opportunity. So I wasn't just, rushing to do it. I felt like I would look into it and then I would do it because you have to submit it to get an agent, and it's a long, grueling process. So when self-publishing came around, it just kind of fell into my lap. One of my ultrasound patients, we was talking and she was telling me that she was a self-published author through Amazon. And I'm like, oh, really? That's congratulations. And I was like, do you have who's your agent? She was like, I don't have an agent. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't, publish without agent. She was like, no, it's a new thing, starting with the paperback from Create Space. And I was like, really? Like, I was just like, because this was in like 2013. At the beginning, it was January 2013. And I was just like, okay. So she gave me her card and, I looked her up and I was just like, wow. Like I like read all these autobiographies from authors that were saying, Amazon and Create Space, because Create Space was the paperback then, and then it's really, really Kindle direct publishing is what it is, but they're sponsored through Amazon. So they were saying like, I've been trying to be an author for 9-10 years and I've got nothing but rejections, but I've been able to come self-published, on Amazon, and finally my dream has came true because you just, find an editor and, book covers and stuff, and you just put it online. You don't have to submit or have anyone tell you no. So I was like, I actually had one of my good friends, my good author friends was ultrasound tech, and we had just happened to be talking like 2 weeks. We used to work together, and then she moved, so we didn't work together anymore, and I hadn't talked to her like all year in 2012, and I had like happened to text her at the end of the year, and so we had been keeping in touch. So we had at the beginning of January was talking because we was catching up, and I had just went to her children's party, and I don't know how we got on the topic about writing, and she was like, well, you write? And I was like, well, yeah, I write. And she was like, I write too. And I was like, huh? Because we had worked together. We known each other for 5 years, and that, we never knew each other had wrote. And I was like, well, my book is like about sci-fi aliens in another solar system, and they look like humans, and it's kind of like a sci-fi romance. And she was like, you're kidding me. She was like, my stories is the same thing. I said, what? So, we had both been writing and had wrote these books. This was like when I had started writing later on after I graduated from college. And we had worked together for 5 years, all these shifts, but it's not something we ever talked about because we knew like hopefully one day we would, but we never know like the steps. So we had got together and like had a book meeting. We were all excited to share our stories and stuff. And literally after that meet, 1 week later, I talked to this patient just randomly, and she told me this, and I looked it up. And so I called her. I was like, girl, we used to get self-published. And she was like, what are you talking about? She couldn't believe it either. So I told her, and we looked it up and researched. And then literally our books came out. Hers came out in August and mine came out in October later that year. Like, I just couldn't believe like how easy it was. So that's how I was able to get into it with the help. I mean, I think when something is right and it's meant, even when you're not like looking for it, it'll come to you. So that's why I'm glad that I just kind of waited and just had faith that it will happen. But it was something very important to me. So I felt like I would wait until an opportunity came, and it came when I wasn't even like researching or looking, because I never even knew self-publishing existed.
Oh, great, and a huge journey, 27 years. And that too, then your best friend, such a coincidence, writing the same genre, the same thing, what you were writing. That,
Yeah, that was crazy. That was faith, because we had, we could lean on each other, because most people, they don't, if you're not into books and stuff, you don't want to hear about that all day long. But we can talk about book stuffs, and we, send each other scenes. Her name is Kat Mayer, and we never like tire of talking about, the subjects, because it's both our passion.
yeah, that's cool. And that's really nice. You're a self-published author. So is it like you have only designed the cover and the title of the book?
Yes, for Scorn of Secrets, I actually did design it. The original title was actually Memories of My Darkest Secret, and I liked it there, but I felt it was a little kind of long. So as I was rewriting it, because I wrote it, like I said, in 2015, I got it back out, and I read it, but I felt it was a little too dark. I don't want to say what I changed it, but the main climax that happens at like the 50th point, when everybody's like, oh my gosh, like that wasn't the climax. And so I felt like something was missing with it. I was just like, I like the bones of the story, but it's something really, I need to change something in here. So when I made that change, I was just like, that's what made the twist. The change was the twist, because it wasn't like that at first with the tricking and the coercion. It wasn't like that. So I changed that, and that's when it just flowed from there, and I just felt it flowed better. So I was able to finish it, because I just kind of glimpsed at the things, and I changed a lot, and I just retyped it, and I was probably finished retyping it by like 2018. But from there, I went through a lot of just editing, and actually, like, it's a very personal topic, but it's real. It's a realistic topic. So I was kind of skeptical. I didn't know what people would think of it, so I was always kind of a little nervous about releasing it. So I finally got the courage. It had been ready, but I'm like, okay, I don't know how people is going to take this. It's real life, but sometimes it's hard for people to talk about real life. But sometimes I think it needs to be discussed, because these things happen. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I feel like it's time now. But I'm glad that it's been able to help and inspire people, because my editor said that I'm really going to be able to help people. So I was surprised when she said that in the comments, because she had been through something that I didn't even know. So I was like, well, this has helped you. I'm glad. I've been in a situation myself. So I think it was good that it came out when it was supposed to come out, because with my personal experience that I've been through, I think that's why I was able to relate to the emotions of the character, because I've been in emotional trauma situations. So I was able to put that emotion into the book as well.
Yeah, that emotions are really seen in the book, true emotions, and which has been popped down from the heart. And yes, I would like to show the viewers the Scorn of Secrets. So yes, this is the cover of the book, the title, and yes, I really love that broken mirrors, the glasses which are there. This gives a great meaning to the book. What is the book about, and what inside the girl's life happens there? We are not going to reveal viewers the story over here, but yes, it's all about something, a twist and a turn. Like, it is a great read which addresses important social issues related to romance, which is thriller with lot of suspense. Yes, there is some dark romance in that. It is a chilling and an engrossing tale, and yet you are going to love it. But it is recommended for the viewers and the readers of 16 plus age, because it holds the complex issues of today's youth. So, like you said, you went through some dark past. So, how was it? How did you came out of it? Like, I saw the character Madison. She was trying to cope up. She was trying to bring out herself of what happened to her. And you also said that you were in a dark past. So, how did you try to cope up of it? And how did you try to came out of that dark past?
Well, I was lucky on my end that I have a big strong family, and I'm very close with my mom. So that part was because I was a fan of VC Andrews. So the whole thing when I started writing, I probably shouldn't. I started reading VC Andrews when I was like 12 or 13. I probably shouldn't have been, but Flowers and Attic was the big thing. So that's what kind of started me to writing, because I was always into family secrets. So since that was kind of the theme, I wanted to have like a good parent and a bad parent, or maybe not just so a bad parent, but not all parents are like my mom. Like me and my mom are close, and she's a wonderful mom, and she's very supportive. But I have to realize, like, when you've been raised a certain way, not everybody has that, and that's unfortunate. So I did kind of, to add the conflict, wanted to have that and keep those elements of Flowers in the Attic, but I wanted her to have the good support system too. So Gigi was like my grandma, big mama. Like, she was my second mom, and I had like two moms. Like, my dad wasn't really, just in the picture, I'm not close with him, but I had two moms, so um, that made up for it. So when I was going through my situation, like, my mom was, you know, when you're going through something, you may can hide it for a little while, but if the situation festers, like, you're gonna have to deal with it, because it's normally not gonna go away. Like, somebody's gonna either find out about it, or if you don't talk about it, you're gonna eventually, have a breakdown or explode. So just going through it, like, I would talk to, my mom. I really didn't tell friends. Like, some may have like found out, but it was something that I hid, because I think deep down, when something happens, like, okay, this shouldn't happen. And, but if people find out, they're going to be like, well, why don't you walk away? Like, I never thought I would be the person that would be like, that'll never happen to me. Like, a lot of times I used to think that you think you're invincible, and you don't think you'll find yourself in a situation like that'll never happen to me. So I'm in a situation like, okay, I can't believe this has happened. Like, I never thought this would happen to me. So you don't really know how to deal with it. And like, you should, like, you know, get yourself out of it. But sometimes it's more complex, and you can't just jump out of it. And there's other things like involved, and it's emotions, or you think, okay, well, it'll get better, it'll never happen again. But it will happen again, more than likely, if the other person on the other end doesn't seek the help that they need. So finally, what I had to learn, and I'll tell anybody that's going through any kind of abusive or this situation, you have to learn how to love yourself first. So I had to say, if I love and respect myself, why am I going to stay in this situation? My situation was not as extreme as Madison. To me, I could, more get out of it better. I just had to take that step and just say, enough is enough. I am not going to do this anymore, because every time I go back, eventually it ends into the same thing, and it's not, it's messing with my mental health. So once I decided like that is it, I'm just gonna walk away. I'm not gonna keep putting myself in a situation that is not healthy for me. Then I was able to really to do that, and I just felt like so much better, and I went uh, forward with my life. But that's the you have to just like how Madison said, like I'm going to come forward and I'm just going to be strong. And people may find out, and hey, if they look down or don't understand, then that's fine. But I have to do this for my inner peace. That is when you're going to find peace and be able to move on. So that's what I wanted to relay. When I knew when I did that, I was about 21 or 20. Like I was able to find peace. So to me, that is the key, that you have to love yourself and have a healthy relationship with yourself and your mental health, because you don't have to deal with it in the society that we live in. You don't have to stay down or be ridiculed. It's going to be somebody, whether it's a family or friend, somebody that will help you or support you. And once you find that courage, it may not be an easy journey, but you can get through it.
I totally agree with the key which you said, that love yourself. That is very important. Yes,
Yes.
because like I've also seen many times, I take interviews and all related to many things which happens in someone's life. Someone shares about their darkness and all. So every some or the other time I hear that start loving yourself. Loving yourself is the best
Mhm.
thing which you can do. You can just make yourself your friend, your sister, your brother, your enemy itself, and speak whatever you want, and see at the end of the day you will be at ease.
Yes,
And
definitely.
thanks to your mom for being with you there, because yes, moms are the best friend, and Gigi, your grandmother too. Too good.
Oh yes, they will help you see it through and let you know that everything will be all
Yeah,
right.
women are the pillars of the family. They can do anything for their children and grandchildren.
Yes, we can. We'll bend over backwards to make it right. Or, I have kids and then, grandkids. So, you want them to have a better life than you had. If you can give that to them or assist, then that's how I was raised. I'll do what I can to make them have a better life, because it's a cruel, hard world out here. So I've just learned you have to take it one day at a time and try to, live life to the fullest, and, just do the best you can, set some realistic expectations, and, then you can enjoy life um, from that aspect, when you um, just accept yourself, love yourself, and um, just make the best out of life that you
Yeah,
can.
truly agreed with you. And also, one thing which you said, that be in a true relationship. It's a message to each and every youth over here, the young generations people. You just go
Mhm.
into lust feelings and just attraction and all. But at times, you don't even know that something dark is going to happen in your way of life. So be aware of that,
Mhm.
and just prepare yourself for the best, which is going to be your future.
Right, right.
So, Brandy, the character in the book, are they fictional or some real characters of your life?
Most of they're fictional. Most of them. I threw some. Well, let me see. The next book, I actually have a couple of people that I use by real names in there to just
Yes.
throw, especially as
Next
once.
book,
Yeah.
Scorn of Secrets. So, yes, viewers, this is up on Kindle. You can go and have and in your library too.
Yes, yes, for pre-order. I'll be starting some ACRs in the next week or so, some 1 month ACRs. So you can order for pre-order now. It's on sale for 99 cents. But it'll be going live on January 25th. Uh, but yes, it's one scene. And it's a club scene, because Madison is, well, she's 18 at this point. That it's like a true story. It's like three scenes in there. I'm not gonna say which.
So,
That's
no,
one of them, though. I'm
we'll
not gonna
keep
say the
it
other two.
secret.
That's a true story. and I used some real characters. But when some of my friends had found out I was, came an author, they was like, oh, people want to be characters and stuff, like, and they was like, you should write this club scene because it really happened. Like, it may seem extreme when you read the club scene, but I was Madison and I was just like, this is crazy. Like, because it just like was something that I don't like to deal with drama and stuff like that. But when you go to have fun somewhere, you don't think, if other people act out like you're going to be in a situation, or I would have never went. But everybody's like, when are you going to write that scene? When are you going to write that scene? I said, I have to write the scene when it fits the storyline. So this was finally a storyline. So some of my friends, they're like, oh, you finally wrote it. Let me know when it come out. Because they just, want to read it. But I know some people come like, this is kind of extreme. But when you're teenagers and go wild parties and stuff, just kind of a part of life, sometimes things get out of control. So I write the scene now, and I was laughing at it, and my son and daughter, like, they have read it and they laughed at it, and I'm like, yeah, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then.
Yeah, that's big.
But for the most part, yeah, 99% the characters are, fictional characters. I just kind of got them in my head and kind of critique them, because I love making character names. And characters in general is very important to me. Okay, how they look, and I'm just very like meticulous. Like, what is their eye color? What is their skin color? And then how do they act? And I might not know everything all at once, but as I write the story, and I feel like I always say this: I don't write the story tells it to me, and the story never tells you in order. Maybe some authors can write from beginning to end. I would never finish a book if it was like that. I normally maybe you'll get a middle or an end, and I'm just all over the place with writing. And I just kind of piece it to where I think it is, and it's so much rearranging in it as I go, as it tell me, because I'll just get a flash. Oh, this happened. Okay, and then I'll start writing that. So normally as I write, and like with the first book, I'll get the characters and I'll say, okay, well, this is how they are. And sometimes I'll, critique it. But normally it kind of plays to me. Like, I knew that Madison was kind of shy and compassionate. And a lot of people viewed her as like an introvert. But I think I don't really see her as an introvert. I just see her as like, she's just a person that hangs with a small crowd, and she likes to read versus more like watching TV. But she's not just, don't have any friends at all. She's just not like I would say she's not a social butterfly. But me, I'm kind of half and half. Like, I wasn't a nerd in school, but I wasn't among the most popular, but I was like kind of in the middle. And I like to read and write, but I was into sports and just different things. So I think there's a middle, but I don't really know what you call the people that's in the middle of the
I
spectrum.
loved Madison's character the most. And the cover of the book, I think you have placed Madison over there.
Yes, I actually made the cover myself, and because I learned about Photoshop in 2015 because I met another author, and she had redid me and Kat's covers, because she had told us her cover was beautiful, and we was like, oh, who did your covers? Because Amazon did ours and we thought they were okay, but we saw other spectacular covers, so we wanted to like kind of broaden our horizons. That was just our first one, so everything CreateSpace did, we just went with them. But when we met her, she was like, oh, I made my own covers, and I was like, how did you make that? She was like, on Photoshop. So I was always interested in that, so I ordered it in 2015, and I started playing around. It was not good at first. Like, I've gotten pretty good because it's just years and years of practice, and it's very tedious, but you have to enjoy doing it if you're going to do it. So I came up I did in 2015, as I was rewriting it, I was like, that's when the concept of the key came in. So I was like, okay, the key to her secret. And then I thought of like, I was trying to think about like what can represent like a world shattering. And I was like, well, glass. So I came up with the concept and I was like, how can I incorporate the key and the glass? So it kind of took me some time, and I came up with the concept. But I mean, that's probably like the 100th version. I may be exaggerating, but I did several versions of it to get it perfect. So it was a couple of years, but I wanted it to be perfect because that's the first cover I've ever did. I've done some promo, but I was paying somebody else to do my covers, but I got some opinions on it, and I felt like, because I'm like, I'm not gonna do a cover unless I feel like it can be professional and good enough. So I had done some posters and stuff over the years, but as I messed around with this version and everybody like said it was a 9 or a 10, so I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and go with it since this is my vision for it. So I was actually pleased that I was able to create that since it was my first book. But when I thought about The Key in the Shattered Glass, that's when I'm like, well, Memories of My Darkest Secret doesn't kind of fit that. And then I was like, I don't know, I started looking up. I'm always on looking up words and definitions, because especially with American words, like a word can mean like 2 or 3 different things. So I have to look it up and see what it actually means to make sure I'm using the right word. So a woman scorned, because I've been a woman scorned, like to me that fit the whole thing of how Madison was scorned. So that's how I came up with Scorn of Secrets. And I still like the Memory of My Darkest Secret. So I was like, well, I went with My Darkest Secret for the series title, because it originally was supposed to just be one book. But as when I rewrote it, I was like, well, you know, it's still a lot that happened since when I rewrote the twist, it like left as I was rewriting, I was like, okay, I can't fit all of this into one book, because the scene that I was actually, the scene that's in the chapter 3 is called A Family Scorn, part 1 and 2. And the next book that was going to actually be at the end of book 1, but I'm like, okay, this is just too long. So I decided I put that in the next book, and I decided this needs to be 2 full books. So, you know, you can change it as you go, but it was 2 books, and then I actually kind of give you ending in Thorn of Secrets. But my daughter was like, well, what else is going to happen? And I'm just like, because I have a companion novel I'll be writing in the near future for her cousin Dario. But it's like between the second book and that one is 6 years. So I'm like, well, I'm sure it's a lot that happened to Madison in 6 years, but I ain't really thought about it. And she was like, well, what happens? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll make some bonus scenes, because I let her read it. She's a little younger. She's 14, but she always come into the room and say, what are you doing? And I'm like, you know, she learned early on a couple of years ago that I'm like, normally if I'm on my computer, I'm either on Photoshop or I'm typing or responding to some social media. So she was reading some scenes, and she was like, what is this? And she was like, I want to read this. And I was like, you do? And I was just like, okay, well, she's mature for her age. I was like, I didn't think she would be interested. So she wanted to. So after she read book 1, she's been like my inspiration for, okay, when is book 2 coming out? And yeah, so she actually, it was gonna be 2 books, but I'm gonna make it 3. But I said that's it. But since it's 6 years between that one and the companion novel, I'm like, well, I'm sure it's a lot to have some Madison in 6 years, but let me see. But the bonus scenes turned into a whole story, so I'm gonna go for it. You know, probably the next year or so with the 3rd book, but that will be the final one for Madison.
Okay, so like 3 books in a series, from Darkest Secrets to Scorn of Secrets to Thorn of Secrets, and then again one more, which will be the end of the series for Madison.
Yeah, that one's gonna be called As the Secrets Turn.
So best wishes to you for your future projects, and also to your daughter, who is becoming your inspiration. And yes, love the way you design the covers, and yes, hats off to you for
Thank
being
you.
a self-publisher. So let's have some quick little fun with you, Brandy. Yeah, we spoke so much about books and books. So, which is your favorite time of the day? Is it morning or night?
It's the evening. Not late. I'm not a late owl, but um, I mean, when I'm off, I like, you know, I normally get up early, but I would say like the evening time, or if I'm off and I don't have to run errands and stuff, and I can just sit at my computer all day. But that only happens maybe one day a week. That's like my favorite time, when I don't have anything to do and I could just be at my computer and type or just read. So sometimes that's more in the morning and sometimes it's later in the evening. It just kind of depends on my schedule.
Okay, one word which describes you.
Me, I would say compassionate.
Okay, I thought secrets.
Secrets? No, I don't. Do you think secrets? No, I don't have a lot of secrets. I don't secrets weigh you down. I'm the kind of person that if something is bothering me, uh I don't like conflict. So it's gonna fester in me until I get it out. So just say if me and my husband have a tiff or something, like we'll pretty much like I'm gonna have to talk about it. I might have to calm down first, but I'm gonna want to talk about it so I can get it out and feel better and move on. Like me, when if something is bothering me, it's just gonna keep like coming into my head and messing with me until I get it out. I mean, that one situation that I've been through, like I guess I was like embarrassed, so I kept that in because it's something that it's not like it's not normal, but bad stuff happen to people, but people just don't go around just talking about it because it's like embarrassing. So, but that does weigh you down. But when you accept it and like I had said earlier and move on, then you are able to have that peace. I don't really like to have secrets. I would prefer not to. So,
Okay, so
but I'm
compassionate.
very
Okay,
compassionate
so
when I feel a certain way. Like I'm gonna be really compassionate about it.
okay,
So
so do you like typing your books or writing or penning down with your hands?
I prefer typing. I can get more done. Like when I first started, I mean, I didn't back when I was going. There was no internet. I was 20, what, 3 when I got my first email account. All of that had just came out. So I'm 43. So that's why my first book is handwritten because that was just nobody owned even like a typewriter. Nobody had a computer. Like I know it's weird to the youth now, but that was the norm then. I didn't have a phone. I got a pager when I was 16 and I thought we were doing something with I got my first phone at 19. It looked like an army phone and it was just all you can do is say hello and hang up. It was none of this stuff. This technology then flew in the last like 20 years. It's crazy, but nothing was like that. Um, so, but even when I was started like writing and was going forward with my sci-fi books, when I would get it, because I might be standing in the grocery store line, the ideas come at the craziest time. And I would just write on a notepad or like a bill, I pull out my paper. So then that's what I would do. And then I would have to type it. And then I realized, why am I doing this? Like, it's taking more time. And since I work full time, like the time that I have for it is like precious. So now what I have learned to do is I have a on my phone, like if I just get an idea, I'll go to my email and I will type that idea. And so, because it may be 5 days later that I can actually sit on my computer. So what I'll do, I'll email it to myself. I'll pull up that email and then I'll copy and paste it to the Word doc.
Wow.
And then all I have to do from there is just kind of shift it. But that has helped me to write so fast when I get the ideas is because I may have say 10 minutes at work or I may have 30 minutes at work if I'm lucky because ultrasound is very hopping. But I've been times I'm just like just typing a scene and I may get 1,000 words in between when I wake up just on the go. But I'm able to copy and paste it. If I had to write that, I would have to type all that. So I definitely prefer the typing
Wow.
now.
Time and generation gap changes and brings new things in front of us. So, Brandy, which is your
Yes.
favorite food?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Traditional pizza. I like a lot of foods, but if you just ask me hands down, it's probably pizza. I don't eat it as much anymore, unfortunately, because pizza is extremely fattening. And starting earlier this year, me and my daughter did a lifestyle change, and I've lost like 30 pounds, and she have too. So, like, I think about pizza, and I'm just like, when last time I had it, like, I kind of feel guilty when I eat it, because I since I've lost so much weight, I'm like, I want to keep it off, but I still love pizza. That would just have to be since I was a child, my
Wow.
favorite food if I have to pick
So,
because I like
in
to
in
eat. So
novelist, you love VC Andrew, and he's your inspiration, VC Andrew. But in Hollywood
yeah,
characters,
she is Stephen King.
who is your favorite in Hollywood characters?
Hollywood.
Hmm?
Oh. Uh, I got so many. It would be right now. My favorite show is All American. It's like a popular show, and Daniel
Oh,
Ezra
wow.
would be my favorite character. He's based off of a real NBA player. Have you ever heard of All American? The show All American. Have you ever
No,
heard
here
of it?
I think
It's on
no,
It's on the
here I think
CW.
CB and no, no.
They're on
Oh yeah.
Instagram, but yeah, it's a true because I normally prefer actually sci-fi and paranormal things, but my I had seen the like clips of the show, but even though I wrote this realistic book, like my other books are dystopian and paranormal, I kind of like to be
I'll search.
more like not in the real
I'll
world,
search on YouTube, All
but
American.
this,
I'll search
huh?
on YouTube, All American. Maybe it might be there.
Yeah, so
Maybe
my
it
daughter
might
and
be
son
there.
was watching the show and they asked me, well, they actually asked me this question here at the beginning of the year. They said, Mom, do you think if a girl, well, they said if a boy moves in with the family, and they're not blood related, but moves in with the family and kind of becomes like a brother in a sense because they have to raise this boy. Do you think if him and the girl like start liking each other, like do you think like that's incest or something like that? And I'm like, well, no, like, well, if he's 16 years old and he's just moved in, with the coach has brought him in his family, like I don't, these two people have just met, like the two 16-year-olds, they don't know each other. They're not going to be, looking at each other like that. So I can't say that they're 16 years old. Like, if the parents aren't even married, like, I don't really look down on that. Like, they probably are going to like each other if they attract each other. That's just real world. Like, it may create drama if the parents do get married, like, of course, but I like forbidden romance. So I said, well, why y'all asking me this? What show are you talking about? Because it reminded me of Scorn had was on pre-ordered, and this was January, it was before it came out. I was like, well, this kind of sounds like my book. I said, what show was y'all talking about? And it was like All American. I was like, huh? I was like, All American, because I knew it was football. I say this happens in All American. I say, oh, I'm fixing to watch this right now. And so I watched it, and oh my God, I fell in love with it. They talk about me because I watched 4 episodes in a row. Like I finished the 16 episodes in 3 days. I was
Oh,
obsessed, and they just talk about me now because like I like Spencer so much. But what I like about the show is kind of like my book is realistic stuff. Like a lot of times why I don't like the realistic shows, nothing against them. Like I used to watch 90210 and Melrose Place, but the drama starts to become like cheesy and an overkill. So it kind of starts to. I'm like, okay, this is getting silly. But what I like with All American is the writers are awesome. They do realistic topics, and I was telling my daughter we was watching it the other night, and almost every episode I get teary eyed because I'm just so touched with the family love and the dynamics and the drama of this show. Is just so powerful. Like I've cried so many times on this show. It's an amazing show.
it
So,
sounds great. I would really
but
catch
that is my
sounds
favorite
great.
show and
I
my
would
favorite
really catch
character.
sounds
What you say,
sounds
Mel?
great. I would really catch it up on YouTube and just see 1 or 2 episodes. Let's see if I get used to it. I would really get back to you.
Oh, I hope you like it. I was hooked on the first episode, and I don't really watch. Like I said, I like Vampire Diaries, True Blood. Like I'm into like you. I watch shows like that. So The Handmaid's Tale, just kind of I love dystopian. So I don't watch many realistic shows, but it has to have a very powerful plot to keep me interested. I get bored easy with the regular everyday stuff, or I think it's silly. But they do a fantastic job with really drawing you in with those emotions.
It was really like fun part having you and hosting you today over here, Brandy. It was a great time.
Well, I appreciate it. I had fun
Yes,
too.
and talking so much with you, and hope we have more and more future live sessions and we can connect. And I would love to read your next series of the book and also the last series, which brings the Madison's character to a end story. So before we leave,
Mhm.
I would like to tell all the viewers that Brandy's book are available on Amazon in Kindle format. Please go have a book, grab them, and you're surely going to love the secrets behind the book, and the curiosity will increase more and more. So wish you good luck for your future products and projects, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Tamia.
Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye.